Welcome to Revenue Through Reputation. I'm Brandon Lee, and I appreciate you coming and spending a few minutes with me. I think today my goal is to give you really the best of what I've learned over the last, I'm going to call it 8 to 10 years. And let me start. I want to start by sharing this story. Before I tell the story, I want to invite you, if you are watching it live, wherever it goes, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. I don't know if we're pushing to Instagram yet or not, but wherever you're watching, if you add a comment during the live, I'll actually see it, and I could throw a question up. I'd love for you to get your questions, your feedback, your comments. I mean, gosh, if I'm saying something you totally disagree with, man, throw it in there. That's what this digital stuff is about. It's about real conversations happening amongst real people. It just happens in this, screened environment. It's really no different than if we were all sitting around a table having a chat. It just happens in a screen, which means we could reach a lot more people and get a lot more reach in a shorter period of time. So if you're watching live, please do that. If you are watching or listening on the podcast, maybe you're on a treadmill, you're driving, anything like that, and you find this valuable, I'd really, really appreciate, take a screenshot, send it to somebody, give me a review, please. This is a new show for me. Is my other show. We're about 135 episodes into it in about 3 years. This one is very new. And so any of your reviews or comments or anything like that would be really helpful. I appreciate it. So, hey, I want to start with this story because, hey, stories are important, right? We know stories are very important. So I have a friend and a client of ours named Chris Dunn from Blue Hive Exhibits. And this happened several months ago. You may have heard the story too, but it's such a perfect example of what we're going to talk about today with your digital, your digital reputation and consistency is so important. So today's topic, the topic is the consistency advantage and how to build a reputation that opens doors. And so along those lines, two big things that you should hear just in that title. Number one is consistency and the need to be consistent because there's so much noise. And if we're not consistent, it's easy for our competition to fill in the quiet space and take over and earn that mind share and box us out from buyers' mindset. And then the second piece on that title is building a reputation that opens doors, right? That's the key there. How do we build that reputation that opens doors? So here's a story. Here's Chris's story, is that Chris sent a cold email to a prospect. Nothing real fancy, just a thoughtful, well-targeted message. And within a short period of time, he got a reply. And the reply said something along the lines of, hey, Chris, absolutely, let's book a call. I feel like I already know you from LinkedIn. I feel like I already know you from LinkedIn. Now, here's the kicker with all of it. Chris had never spoken to this person before. He's never had a call, never had direct mails, just consistent, thoughtful content and commenting and showing up in the feed and over time. Now, he had been commenting on this person's post. He had been posting his own content. And through that, the response was a foundation of trust. It was earned somewhat silently. I don't know how to say that exactly. It wasn't silent because digital and commenting and posting isn't silent, but it was definitely trust that was earned without having a conversation with somebody. It happened without emails going out. And that's what I want to dive into today. Our reputations are built, and they've always been this way, right? Reputations are built over a series of small actions that happen over time. Now, for those of us like me, I'm Gen X. I'm going to be 55 this year. Crazy. I don't feel it. I don't think that way, but yes, I'm going to be 55 this year, next month even. But for those of us that are Gen X and baby boomers, this is new motion for us. We were a analog first motion, or a offline face to face motion first. That's the way we grew up. And I would say anybody that's about 35 and under, maybe a little younger than that, theirs experience is much more of a digital first motion. So, what does that mean? Well, it means because we all have these in our hands and in our pockets, and they're with us 24 hours a day, right? I mean, our phones are within arm distance of us when we sleep, right? Mine's in my left pocket. Like, if my phone isn't in my left front pocket, I start to wonder what the heck's going on. I feel weird, right? What is yours? You have the same systems, I know. So because we have these, we're constantly accessible. We're constantly accessing digital content. So today's question for you is, if I told you that the most powerful part of your growth strategy for your company, now that could be for sales, it could be for retention, it could be for recruitment, but what if I told you the most important of it doesn't happen on a call or in a boardroom or even at a dinner meeting, but it can happen through what's perceived to be the silence before those calls and conversations ever get booked? Now, look, I want to address this really, really head on. Anthony, first of all, Anthony, thank you for the comment. I just saw that. I do have a new show, Revenue Through Reputation. Thanks so much for tagging your friends and letting them know. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you, Anthony. I mean, look, Anthony's a great example. Anthony, I don't believe we've ever had a conversation. Maybe I forgot, but through our content, our comments, our chatting back and forth in our comments, I feel like Anthony's a friend. And I've never yet been able to give him a live fist bump, but I've given him a lot of digital fist bumps. And that's really what we're talking about today. So as a business leader, I want to address, before I got four key talking points I want to share with you today about digital being the first impression, about consistency being so important, the type of content that really captures attention. And look, what I'm going to say about the style of content is probably going to be very, very different than so much stuff that you've heard. And I've seen it, and I believe it to be true when it comes to real opportunities and real growth. I'm going to give you just a 4-step little playbook about consistency with LinkedIn. But before I go there, I want to talk about, especially because I tend to talk to a lot of Gen X and baby boomer leaders, and there's an underlying problem, challenge that a lot of us have when it comes to anything around content or digital. And it really sucks. And we don't like talking about it. And quite honestly, we don't even want to admit it. In fact, when I say this, there's probably going to be some of you out there that want to tell me I'm wrong, but then a little bit later, you're like, yeah, that's probably true. And guys, it's fear. This is a new muscle for us. This is a new motion for us. We didn't have to put ourselves out there in this style with digital content for the whole world to see any other time in our career, especially early in our career, where we were learning and we were establishing our routines and our systems and our beliefs about ourselves and what we're good at and what we should do and what we have to do to be successful. This didn't exist because when I started working, this didn't exist. When I first got out of grad school, like, the internet was maybe for email, but there wasn't social media. And so for a lot of us, this is a totally new muscle. But here's my encouragement, and I don't know your story in particular, but I can share with you mine. I hated networking. I was uncomfortable. I mean, it was my own insecurities, my own low self-esteem, my own challenges. Like, well, what if people don't like me? Like, what if I go to this event and I go to meet somebody and they actually don't want to talk to me, or they don't like me, or I say something stupid? But I also knew and believed that it was part of the job. And so what I did was I started learning. I was back then, there weren't as many online courses. There weren't any online courses, but I was reading books and I was going to classes on how to learn. I took a public speaking class to learn how to be more comfortable in front of people. I started reading books about how to ask questions. I started learning things about how to be curious and how to be other oriented. And it was the time that I discovered my favorite book of how to win friends and influence people. But my point for all of us is there's actions and activities that we have to do in our job that we don't necessarily like. But my encouragement to all you is that this digital personal branding, digital reputation, it's not an option anymore. If you want to be successful, if you want more people to know you, if you want to help your brand grow, it's not an option anymore. And I'm going to tell you one more story, and then we're going to jump into the key talking points. As a leader, whether you're a CEO, a C-suite, or a sales leader, how often do people on your team ask you, especially around trade shows and big meeting times, how often do they ask you, could you join our meeting for 5 minutes? Or could you pop in for a little bit? Or I've got a really important meeting. Could you attend? And what happens, and whether it's sales for a prospect or it's customer service with an existing client and something important's happening, or maybe if it's even HR with recruiting somebody really important that they want to get on the team goes and asks for your presence, because your leadership presence speaks big. It speaks volumes. It says, hey, I took time because I care. I'm here because this is important. I wanted to take time out of my day to come in and give you my intention. It's not just the fact that you're there. It's what it says to the person on the other side of that table, or the person on the other side of that Teams or Zoom call, or that person on the other side of the conversation. Your presence and your willingness speaks volumes. It tells them you care, it tells them they're important, that this is important to the company because you as a leader took time to do it. And if that resonates with you, then all of this, do I need to build my presence on LinkedIn or in content? And it doesn't even have to be just LinkedIn. I like to be LinkedIn first. But when you got YouTube and you got blog articles and newsletters, the key is your presence and your voice, your experience, your belief in sharing your stories. That's what's important. That's what people want to hear. And when they hear it from you, it means more than hearing marketing messages. Now, I know I can just feel some of you out there right now squirming. Maybe somebody's even yelling at their car radio. You're listening to this on your podcast, and you just like, Brandon, shut up. I don't want to do this. I get it, and I hear you, but guess what? It's in this day and age, it's 2025. It's not an option anymore because of the way buyers behave, the way our customers act, like the things that they do with their phone and how they read and how they watch videos and how they get content that influences them and gives them perceptions and gives them opinions and beliefs about you and your company. and your competitors and their companies, if this is the way they're getting their information and they're making their opinions and they're creating their opinions and feelings, then my goodness gracious, you just have to be there. You may not like it, I get it, but that's my push. That's my big push for today. So let's talk about these four key talking areas. And number one is that digital is now the first impression. You know, Anthony commented a few minutes ago, and it just made me think about it. Like, Anthony and I have never been in the same room together. We've never had a phone call before. We've never been on a Teams or a Zoom before. But I'm pretty sure Anthony has a pretty strong belief, opinion, or understanding of a reputation he has towards me based on my content and my commenting on his content. And I would imagine if I called Anthony or sent a message, hey, would you want to get on a call? He'd probably really highly likely say yes because of that activity. So showing up digitally is the first impression. Now, let me try to illustrate it this way, and hopefully this doesn't fall on its face. But let me ask this question. When you manage your email each morning, we all have to manage our email because we get so much of it, right? You log in and your email inbox is like this big, and you want it this big, which means basically we all look at it and what do we think? Okay, what's the crap that I can get rid of quickly so I can get to the stuff that's really important, because we want to be efficient with our time. So how do you do that? What do you do? Now, I often ask that question when I'm on calls with either prospects or customers or anybody really, because I'm really curious about it. And most people, they'll come to it different directions, but they ultimately say, I look at the names, and if I don't know who they are, I check all the ones I don't know who they are, because they're probably spam or they're probably things I don't really care about. Because if I don't know who they are, it's not important enough for me to take my time to look at it. So we go through and check them all off and do a big delete and take a list from here and make it here. And it's kind of it's the process that people go through a couple of times to get their inbox to a point they go, okay, now these are the ones that are important for me to spend my time. So what does that mean? If we're sending emails to people and they don't know who we are, what's the likelihood that somebody's actually going to pay attention to it? It's very, very minimal. So the handshake today, which, as I shared when I first started coming up into business, the whole networking and being in a room and walking up and shaking someone's hand and introducing myself just scared the absolute crap out of me. And, my own insecurities and everything else, like if they don't like me. But that handshake now is digital, mostly. It's your LinkedIn profile. It's the content that you create. It's the comments that you make. So it could be LinkedIn posts, it could be videos in YouTube, it could be videos in Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or anywhere. But the content that you create helps them shape an opinion about you. They start to get to know you. They get a sense of like, is this somebody that I would like to do business with? Is this somebody who's funny? Is this somebody who I feel is insightful? Is this somebody I'd want to be in the same room with? Is this somebody that feels trustworthy for me? If we're not creating that content and publishing it and putting it out there, what do they know about us? Probably nothing. What do they know about your competition? Well, if your competition's showing up with videos and everything, they're going to know a lot. So this digital environment, your profile, your content, your comments, your opinions, the things you share, how you show up, that's the first impression. Now, one of the questions I have I like to follow with this is, do you actually believe that? That's a challenge for you. I mean, I believe it. I've seen it in action, but for you to pause and ask yourself, do you actually believe this? Because I've had a lot of people kind of shake their head, yeah, that makes sense. And then you look at their digital presence, 2 weeks later, a month later, and it's still nothing. So my question is like, well, they probably don't really believe this to be true. So the question you have to ask yourself is, do you really believe that that's the way people behave? So ask people. I mean, ask yourself, how do you do research? How do you learn about people before you agree to a call with them? Anthony, thanks for the comment. 100% we'd say yes to a call. We need to do that, Anthony. We just got to get it done, get it out of the way and meet each other. So we got to work on that. But do you actually believe this? And ask yourself how you do your research. How do you find out about new companies? What was the last company that you've reached out to because you were interested? And what's that? What's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, go backwards and figure out how you got to how you first learned about them. And I bet it's really, really likely it was either digital, or it was digital that somebody discovered them and told you about it. Either way, the foundation of it was something digital and probably something social. So how do you do your own research? And I'm going to leave this on showing up digitally as the new first impression. Your reputation, number one, you either have it or you don't. And I would say if you don't have a reputation, well, that is the reputation. Who is this person? I don't even know who they are. Are they in our industry? Why would I want to talk to them? That's a reputation. Just as much as if they said, hey, 100%, I'd say yes to a call, just from the relationship we've developed through our engagement online, just like Anthony wrote in the comments. And I didn't set Anthony up, by the way. I didn't set this up. So, but thank you, Anthony. So I want to talk now about consistency. Consistency, repetition builds the recognition, right? Repetition builds awareness. Chris Dunn's story that I started this episode with about sending the message and the guy going, oh, yeah, Chris, totally. Let's get on a call. I feel like I already know you. That wouldn't happen from one post. Probably wouldn't happen to 10 posts over 6 months. It probably wouldn't have happened if Chris wasn't consistent. And not just consistent, and we're going to talk about number 3, we're going to talk about the type of content, but it wasn't just consistent, but it was content that wasn't about him and his company all the time. It was other content, and we'll talk about that in step 3. So like 2 and 3 are really important right now because of the amount of AI that has influenced the amount of content that's being produced. But I believe in humanity. I believe in humans. And I believe that over a short period of time, we humans are going to evolve into a place where we recognize, we smell AI a mile away. And we're going to start rejecting it before we pay attention to it. So I believe this massive increase in content that we've all experienced over the last 6 months to a year, and a little more than that, since especially ChatGPT made its big splash, I think that that's going to start dying a little bit, primarily because the crappy content isn't going to produce the results that people want, and they will start to give up on it. Especially things like the automated comments that if you comment back on it, nobody ever shows up to keep the conversation going. And we quickly go, oh, okay, they got me once. That was an AI comment and I believed it. So I brought my human to go engage with their bot and they didn't show up. So I'm just not going to do that again. I mean, that's how we're all learning, right? None of us want to feel stupid. If I go comment and somebody's bot is the one that I'm commenting on and the human never shows up, well, guess what? I'm not going to do it again. I got to protect my ego. And I don't want to go have conversations with bots that don't really conversate back. And my humanity is too fragile to do that. I believe we all go through that. And yes, Anthony, I paid you a lot. Thanks a lot, buddy. So repetition is about it's about being consistent. And guys, I want to encourage you. I mean, there's a lot of people out there, like, they want to tell you how to go viral and how to get maximum engagement and all this type of stuff. And look, numbers are impressive. I'm not gonna lie. Like, oh my gosh, you got 40,000 followers, you have 80,000 followers. How many people do you really need to buy from you to be successful this year? Like, if you had 200 to 300 people that you really developed strong relationships with, and they knew you, and you'd have the Chris Dunn experience. If you emailed them, they'd go, oh my gosh, I feel like I know you. Yes, let's get on a call. Will those 200 to 300 people potentially provide for you the best year of your life as far as business is concerned? Look, I get the draw to the numbers. I get that we'd all feel good about having a lot of people following us and all of that. But for most of us, it's not necessary. What's necessary is not hitting the home runs, but just getting up and hitting a base hit, once out of every 3 at bats. And if we do that, I'm not a huge baseball fan, but I do like that analogy. If you got a base hit every 3 at bats, I'm pretty sure you'd end up in the Hall of Fame and have a very successful career. And for most of us, leaders, sales reps, that's true. If we were just being ourselves, being consistent, have some fun with it, have a little bit of humor, support other people, encourage other people, be in those conversations, then the success is going to come from it. So that's my belief around it. I don't care about being an influencer, but I do want to be very influential with a few hundred people, and that's where I think consistency is so important for us. Let's get into the value of content, or the type of content. I like this expression. I don't know who said it, but content is leadership in public. Don't post to be seen, but post to make other people feel seen, feel heard, feel like they're a part of a community. And Crystal, yes, quality over quantity. Thank you for adding that. Let's get into the value of content. As leaders, I hear a lot of leaders will say, I really don't have anything important to say. I also hear leaders say, I don't know what to say. And I also hear leaders say things like, I don't want to be an influencer, so I kind of stay away from this. I'm going to say a couple of things. There is a little bit of an ignorance gap there. In the pure sense of the word, you just don't know what you don't know. And I would also push and encourage anybody, if you're saying things like that, get in a closet by yourself and ask the question, am I just scared? And if I am just scared, what am I scared of? And then ask yourself, but what's the potential upside? If people like Brandon and others who are talking about this whole digital presence is the reputation builder, it's the handshake, it's going to help me meet more people, it's going to help my company become more known by people, then what do I need to do to overcome this fear? And that's my encouragement to you. But I think the type of content, we make it a lot more difficult. First of all, marketing is going to want to do all their pitchy brochure, what I call brochure type messages. They're going to want to push the brand. And I'm telling you now, it's actually the exact opposite of what we should be doing. As leaders, if you share your leadership journey, people are going to be interested. Even for any of us, we're like, nobody cares about what I think or what I do. Look, you're a CEO, you're a C-suite, you're a sales leader of a company. There are a lot of people that care, internally and externally. And when you start sharing it, people start to join the conversation. I've learned so much from my friend Carson Hetty with Microsoft. He's one of my co-hosts of my other show, my Mastering Modern Selling. And one of the things I've learned from Carson, and he says this over and over and over again, and I don't think a lot of people like really pay attention to it, but he says, I just started showing up. I just started creating content. I just started sharing the things that I've experienced, the things that I was observing, the things that I feel. I just started sharing that. I really had no idea what I was doing. And now, Carson is pretty well known to be the number one like digital selling person at that really, really small company he works for called Microsoft, right? How did he start? He just started thinking about, what have I experienced that would add value to other people? And that's what I'm encouraging you all as leaders to share. Here's my easy breakdown. If you're not sure how to say it, like what are you observing in your industry? What are you thinking about as a leader? Like, what's important to you? What are you worried about? What are you excited about? When you think about, like, what have you learned? What did you learn last year? Right. And I know this stuff is kind of scary because we're kind of putting ourselves out there. Well, that's what we've been talking about. You have to put yourself out there. So what are you observing? What are you thinking? And this one, I know some of you guys are going to go like sphincter warning here. People are going to go, ooh. What are you feeling as it relates to your industry? That's what I mean by share your leadership journey. And I know that it's hard. I know that it's hard, but I want to encourage you to start testing it. I mean, think about it this way. If you were in the office, lots of your team members were around, and you shared a story like, when we first started this company, one of our biggest obstacle was, and you shared it. And I was really, really nervous. I was scared. I was overwhelmed because... And then over time, what we learned and what we did was ABC steps, and we overcame that challenge. And we went from 10 employees to 100 employees over the next year, something like that. That's a great piece of content for somebody to get to know you more and feel like they know you. And give them that opportunity to go, man, I like this person. I like the way they think. Or even ask a question and go, how did you create those steps? Or how did you get over the fear of that? Or, how did you have the courage to take out a line of credit on your house and start this company, or whatever that may be? I mean, these are things that other people really care about and want to learn. And you have that experience. You have that gold in your hands. And people are ready to hear it. And what happens, it's not just that you're not just out self-promoting, but by being authentic in that way, you actually start promoting your brand. More people become aware of the brand because they become aware of you. And when they go, man, I like this person, they also like your brand, and they're looking for ways to engage with your brand because they like you. And most people are pretty good and they'll want to support. But here's a key thing is when it comes down to, company A or company B, and they know of you as the leader and they've been hearing and participating in your stories, who are they most likely to pick? Especially because we know buyers don't make perfectly logical decisions, right? We all agree with that. Buyers, we do not make logical decisions. We make emotional decisions, and we support it by logic. And I'll stand by that across. And I know there's some people that say, oh, that's not true anymore. BS. Humans are humans are humans are humans. And we tend to want to make the decision we want, and we just support data and facts and logic to make the emotional decision the right decision. So let's get into step 4, which is, it's a simple 4-step playbook. Simple, easy, but not easy to do. I get it. That's why you need community and other people and people around you. Number 1, Update your LinkedIn profile. And anything you've probably ever done before on your profile is probably not what you should do. I mean, like, it's just, we've all done that. We looked at our profile like a resume. Let me go tell everybody what I've done in my life. Nobody cares. With all respect, I love y'all. Nobody cares what you've done in your life. Nobody cares what I've done in my life. Nobody cares what any of us have done in life. What we all care about is, what can you do for me? How can I help you? If I follow you, if I pay attention to this, what am I going to get out of it? Update your profile from that perspective. Then start having fun, right? I would say start with commenting. And I know this might sound weird from what you've heard from other people, but start with commenting on other people's posts. So take 10 people in your industry or 10 people who greatly influence your buyers or your customers, those people who tend to be like authors, speakers, consultants, those who create content on a regular basis, and go to their profile, hit their bell, the bottom right corner, like underneath their banner on the right side, below the banner, there's a bell. Hit the bell and you'll get a notification every time they post. Or you get the option, it'll say choose all or only the important ones. Choose all. And take those 10 people, and whenever they post, go as soon as you can and read what they have to say and comment. Now, here's a strategy for commenting. Really difficult one. Ready? Read their post and then close your eyes. Look at their profile picture if you need to. Get a picture of who they are, and then close your eyes and imagine them standing across from you, and they just said the words verbally. And how would you respond? Because if they were standing across from you live and they said that and they looked at you, you would feel compelled to say something. So just say that. And one of the other hints that I love doing is, especially when I'm on my phone, is I use my iPhone voice to text. So I actually say my comments, because I find when I write, I try to write something very smart and not just say it conversationally. So those are two big hints, two ways of commenting. So take 10 people. If you're being ambitious, go get 25. Work your way up till you have 100 or so every week, and go comment on everything that they talk about, and just consider it a chat, consider it a conversation. So again, close your eyes and picture they're standing in front of you and you've got that pressure, like, oh my gosh, I got to respond. They just spoke to me. They're looking me in the eye. I've got to say something. Most of us would not just walk away in fear and never respond. We might ask a question. We might relate it to one of our own experiences, right? We may ask them to elaborate a little bit on it. Maybe we would add an analogy, oh gosh, that reminds me of, right? But that's what we would do in a live environment. So just apply that into this digital commenting environment. And then if you're like me, use the voice to text and kind of speak your answers. For me, it's just a lot easier. And I find when I write comments, they sound lame. I try too hard when I write, I think, and they just don't sound as good. But, and then start creating your own content. And I'm going to go back to what I said earlier about the type of content. What do you observe? What do you think? And what do you feel? Like, gosh, as I'm watching in our industry XYZ happening, here's what I think about it. Or I've been in this industry for 25 years and I see the cycle coming again. Back in such and such year, this is what was happening. Like, share those leadership experiences that only you can share and provide value to people. So then start posting. I mean, start with once a week, twice a month. Like, find the rhythm that's right for you, and post from the I observe, I think, I feel, and start there. And the other thing, again, that I do is I use my voice note on my phone, because, again, I find that I speak better than I write. So a lot of times I will speak my post into either ChatGPT or speak it into my voice note, and then use the transcript and then kind of craft it around to make sure that not only it sounds like me, it is my words, but again, because most of us, we can speak a lot easier than we write. Third step is tap into Sales Navigator. Sales Navigator is going to give you a lot of insights. If you don't know the 10 people, go to Navigator and do some research, right? If you don't know the 10 people you should follow, go to Navigator and use research. What I like about Navigator is you can also add notes, you can create lists, you can set other notifications when people or their company post. There's a lot of insights there. I'm not going to deep dive in. I mean, I don't train, I don't do anything. I use Navigator for myself. There's other people out there like Alexander Lowe and others who are experts on Navigator that I would send people to. But start engaging Navigator for the insights and the organization ability of it. And then the last thing in number 4 is the DM follow-ups. Look, and I'm going to preface it with this: don't pitch. Just stop your pitches. Nobody cares. Just stop the pitches. But if let's play this example out. Somebody's been posting and you've been commenting, and then you post and they've comment. Just keep the conversation going. Send them a direct message. And I love doing videos, direct message. And some people have said, it's kind of presumptuous to send a video, but for me, I like it. And it's easier for me to do a video or do an audio and speak it than it is to write it. And so I send a message that way. Now, the key there is don't send messages about you and, this is what we do and come buy my stuff. But maybe if you were commenting, you send a message and talk about the comments, like, hey, I really enjoyed this part, or hey, you commented this, that's great. And if you do want to have a conversation, ask them for a conversation. And if you do want to share, like, hey, this is what we do, and if it's ever appropriate for us to talk, I would be happy to schedule a call or something like that, and then go for it. But my key here is don't be systematic, like, and then I ask for a meeting, and then I ask for, let the conversation flow. It's a lot like that live networking event that when we first meet somebody and shake their hand and we're starting to get to know each other, if we ask for that meeting too soon, they're going to back off. I had somebody give me the analogy again yesterday, like we don't go out on the first date with our spouse and ask them to marry us. Although I almost did, to be honest. Within 2 weeks, I knew. Within 2 weeks, Megan and I both knew. But that's another story for another time. But the reality is we don't just start to get to know somebody and go straight to try to close a deal. But yeah, we do that often in sales. We do that often because we have all this pressure to build pipeline and close deals. But what happens is it actually reverses the effectiveness for us, and we lose pipeline. We lose people who they may not want to talk to us today, but if we push too hard too soon, they may not want to talk to us ever. And we lose the opportunity or the equity value that we've already created to that point. So that's it. Look, I want to end with sharing Chris's story again and adding another story. Through his consistency of commenting, posting, the response to a cold email was, yeah, let's get on a call. I feel like I already know you because I see you all the time on LinkedIn. And my friend James Gilman, he's the president of Perimeter Office Products. He had a great story that he shared a while ago. He went to his high school reunion, and I know that that's not necessarily the ICP that he was looking for, but some of them were, and what happened from it is totally relevant. He texted me the next morning after his high school reunion, and he said, dude, I get it. And I responded like, what do you get? And he said, I went to my high school reunion last night and I felt like I was the prom king or something, because everybody kept coming up to him going, dude, I love your content on LinkedIn. I love all the stuff that you're doing, and referenced some of his content. But he was sitting there a little bit baffled going, wait a minute. I never seen them comment. Never even seen them like my content. I didn't even know that they were watching or paying attention because they didn't engage. When we show up consistently, people are watching, they're paying attention. They may be shy, they may not be ready to comment, they may not even be ready to like. But if you, me, everyone else, we're using our phones, we're going into social media, we're going to YouTube, we go to LinkedIn, we go to Instagram, we go to TikTok, we go to Facebook, wherever. We go there and we're consuming content. It means your audience, the people you want to talk to, they're doing the same thing. So the question is, are you there, or are your competitors there? And are you ready to build up a new muscle? Are you ready to get out of your comfort zone and push yourself? And I know it's hard, but are you ready? Because I'm telling you right now, your company demands it. Your company needs it. Your company needs you to lead this way, even if it's slightly, all right, not more, not slightly. It's totally uncomfortable. I asked somebody the other day this, and I'll wrap up. Have you ever given a speech? You ever been on stage with a few hundred people in the audience? I go, oh, yeah, I have. He said, what was that like the first time you did it? Oh, I was so scared. Like, yeah, tell me about it. They started telling me I was scared, and I practiced because I didn't want to screw up. I said, yeah, it's just like that. We've done this before in other areas. It's time for us just to move forward in this new era. It's 2025. We're a quarter of the way through the 21st century. These are 21st century emotions. If we're going to lead companies in the 21st century, we have to lead with 21st century emotions. So if you're not specifically, but especially if you're like a Gen X baby boomer leader, again, I'd be happy to talk to you, because this is what we specialize in. If you haven't seen my 1 hour a week playbook, we want to make this as simple, as easy as possible, yet as powerful as possible for you and your company. Linda, thank you for that comment. Yes, the engagement part. Engagement is so, so important. That's why, people ask me if you were stuck, you could only do one thing. You can only publish your content or comment. What would you do? And honestly, I would keep commenting over publishing, because with commenting, I at least know who's going to see my content, because I can see who published and who else commented. I don't have any control over who's going to see my content when I publish on LinkedIn, but I can have more control, and I can go comment on a lot. So let's say I publish today and I get 200 engagement, or 200 impressions, even if you get 2,000 impressions, and I go to 25 people who get tens of thousands of engagements each time, my comment is going to be seen by a lot more people than a post. So engagements are so important. But just to wrap up, if you're a leader, you're a C-suite, specifically, I think CEOs, like, I get it. We don't want to do this. It's not comfortable, but it's part of your job description now. Even if it's not on there yet, it should be. But if you're a C-suite leader to a sales leader, a customer service leader, an HR leader, your reputation is key to your success and your company's success. So what are you doing to build your reputation? You have a huge opportunity. It's easy, it's quick, it's at scale. And yeah, it's a little uncomfortable, but we can get over that. So, hey, thank you, everybody. Linda, Anthony, Crystal, thank you so much for your comments today. I really appreciate you joining in. And if you have topics that you would like, I've had occasionally somebody will send me a message and go, hey, could you do it on this? Because I really need our CEO to know it, or I need my sales leader to know it, or anything like that. But if you have topics that are interesting to you, or you're curious about, or you're wondering how you can implement at your company level, shoot me a direct message, put it in the comments, send me an email, whatever you want. But yeah, let me know those comments, those topics that are important to you. And then I don't know the exact, hey, then maybe you've, I got Bryn next week. That's awesome. Hey, Bryn Tillman's going to join me next week. Bryn is like phenomenal on the social selling side. And I'm not a social selling guy. I'm more of the content guy. But Bryn is she's one of the gurus I go to on all things LinkedIn, direct messages, creating conversations, getting calls, and filling pipeline. I've had Bryn on my other show a few times, so she's going to be joining me next week, which is awesome. So come on back. I'd appreciate it. So everybody, remember, we generate revenue through our reputation. And that's why my show is called Revenue Through Reputation. So thank you for joining us. And I will see you next week. Same time, same channels. Have a great night. Bye.